All right, let's see how this thing works.
Now this is Pete. Bear with me here. I've got the Kahoot screen on, but here we go. I was trying to get back to the Zoom screen. Now I've got it. So I'm gonna share the screen. Are you all seeing the Kahoot screen now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, since we're only having the 3 players, we can certainly use this same quiz another time when we've got more of a group or for a different group or something. So
Let's see how it works.
So the way this is going to work, now I just want to point out, a question will come up first. I manually click on something to start each question. Okay, there are going to be 20 questions, and it kind of does a 3, 2, 1 countdown. It'll show the question first, and then it'll take a couple of seconds, and the picture will pop up too that relates to the question. And then you will have 20 seconds to make your answer. And it'll be multiple choice, and there'll be four answers. One of them, I think, only has 3 answers. And each one is in a colored box of a different color. And you click on the colored box, and just want to remind you that you need to click on the box to answer it on the device that you're logged into Kahoot on, not on the, you'll be watching the pictures on your separate screen on your presumably laptop. So there's no place to click there. You click on the device that you logged into Kahoot with. And you have 20 seconds. And the way it works, if you answer, of course, if you choose the wrong answer, you don't get any points. If you answer instantly, like within 1 second, I think you get 1,000 points for that question. If you wait until the very last second before the time runs out and then click the right answer, you get 500 points. So you get more points the quicker you answer. And then after each question, it's going to show how many answered correctly and who got the most points. And it's going to give us a breakdown of who's in the top. In this case, if there's only 3 players, it's going to be the top 3. Okay.
Is there a double daily, Pete?
Say that again.
Is there a double daily, like on Jeopardy?
I guess not.
Okay.
And let me minimize my view of these people here for a minute. Okay, here we go. You all seeing that?
Yeah.
The problem is
and there's the picture and your answer choices.
Five seconds left.
So it looks like we had 3 answers and 2, no one got it right. Vince, you want to comment?
Well, it's the Arickaree River, as you can see there on the screen lit up. And the Arickaree River is south of the South Platte and north of the Republican River. And where it enters Kansas, you can
now there's there's a second question coming up, Vince, so don't give away the answer to that one.
Right. So if you look at the picture. Is the picture still visible? I don't think it is.
Just a minute. I think I can bring the picture back. Hang on here.
How about show media? Would that do it?
Where does it say that?
Under
show
the
media.
answers.
Yes, there's what we want. Thank you.
Oh,
So you're looking to the south, and the Arickaree River is down there where the cottonwoods are along its course, and about halfway between those two labels of Kansas and Colorado is the state line.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to move on here. So here's,
Yeah.
now wait a minute. Oh, that's because everybody got zeros because nobody answered correctly. Okay, so you're all tied for last. And here's the next one. Let me
Oh,
get that
come on.
box out of the way. This should be pretty easy. Those answers are 1,000 feet apart. Would it be an easy guesser for this? So 2 guessed correctly, 3,315 feet.
I missed it again. I'm
So
not
if you
doing-
subtract that from 14,443 feet of Mount Elbert, the total relief in Colorado is more than 2 miles and vertically. And of course, we probably all know that the average elevation of Colorado is 6,800 feet above sea level.
Of course, we all know that.
If you've read Messages in Stone, you know all that.
Okay, and now we're going to go to the, boy, one of my boxes keeps getting in the way here. So Bob is ahead. He answered more quickly with 869 points, and Alex running in second. So here we go for the next one. What? Darn box.
That's not right.
Could be grapes.
Oh.
Oh my. It looks like 3 all wrong answers.
And do not feel bad, because I learned this and I got it wrong also. Paul Weimer, professor at the University of Colorado, who's the son of Bob Weimer, asked me one time what this question, and of course I said Mount Elbert, because in Leadville I looked out every day on it. And it's the highest peak in the Rocky Mountains and the highest peak in Colorado. However, it's 6 miles east of the Continental Divide. It's not on the Continental Divide. So Gray's Peak is the highest point
I didn't know
on the
that.
Continental Divide, not just in Colorado, but the entire Great Divide from Central America to Alaska.
And Bob missed it, and he's been up there.
And the other thing that's kind of interesting is that when you look at Gray's Peak on the USGS topographic map, that area of Gray's and Torrey is labeled the Continental Mountains.
Oh,
I knew that several of the 14ers were not on the Continental Divide, and it was hard to pick out Long and Pike as not being there, but I didn't know which one actually was.
Yeah. Well, and it was interesting. Paul said when I got it wrong, and of course I was in disbelief. I said, "No, Paul, that can't possibly be right." Well, it is. And he said, "Well, I got my dad on that one too, so don't feel bad."
So he got more people than them on this because so when Vince sent me he put together the questions and the answer choices, but he did not send me what the correct answers were because Vince, of course, assumed I would obviously know all the answers.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I
right.
pasted the test together and sent him a trial copy. And I knew that many of the 14ers are not on the Continental Divide. And I was thinking, yeah, it's kind of a trick question because you can only make the answers that are on the divide. And my brain wasn't completely engaged on that one because I should have known what was right. But I sent him back the test and I had Mount Elbert as the correct answer. And Vince wrote back and said, no. And it was like, duh, I knew that. I just, he got me on it too. And what can I say?
Well, I can't claim that I knew it until it. So this is really a learning game also.
Because the divide does not run down the Sawatch Range at all.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Well, which part?
It goes through Independence Pass.
Oh, and then in Independence Pass, it cuts off to the west, huh?
Well, it just kind of stays to the west of Mount Elbert. You know, Mount Elbert's out to the east there. There's a big valley between the hills up there. So it runs up through the Sawatch Range to Tennessee Pass and then cuts across to Fremont Pass and then across to Hoosier Pass and then on to, I forget exactly where it goes from Hoosier Pass, but.
Well, let me see if I got this straight. So are all the collegiate peaks on the Continental Divide then?
I believe they are, Pete. All I know is it does come up through the Sawatch Range to Independence Pass. It may, I think actually they may not be because as I recall, south of Independence Pass, I think it cuts to the west a little bit, but still within the Sawatch Range.
I'll have to look. I have a map in here actually. I'm gonna have to look at it.
Most of the collegiates, though, are south of Elbert.
Pardon?
Most of the collegiates are south of Elbert. So
Right. And that's why I was saying I don't really know the answer to that one. But I can find out real quickly here, I think.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think whether Mount Antero is on. I was thinking Mount Antero is not on the Continental Divide.
I suspect it's not.
Well,
no, it's not because actually I've been up on the west side of Antero to climb it, and that drains into Browns Creek, which is Arkansas drainage.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I don't have an expanded map there, but I'll check the topo map.
Okay, I'm looking at a map of Colorado, and
call from name unavailable.
yeah, so the Continental Divide goes across Fremont Pass and over to Tennessee Pass, if I'm reading this right.
Yep.
Yes.
And it looks like Mount Massive is, if this is right, is not on the divide. Mount Massive is east of the divide. And so is La Plata Peak and Huron.
Well,
So it looks to me like all of the 14ers in the Sawatch Range are actually not on the divide, if I'm reading this map correctly. And then it winds its way down to Monarch Pass.
Right. So it's on the western part of the Sawatch Range.
Right.
Because, yeah.
Which is
I think probably
interesting.
Antero, and think about between Antero is Chalk Creek, which is flowing out into the Arkansas River. And that's flowing from much farther west.
Right.
So that would be on the east slope. It's kind of, when I moved to Leadville, I was sort of excited. I was told someone, I said, well, it's really nice to live on the west slope now. And they said, well, when you come from Denver to Leadville, you cross the Continental Divide twice. So you're not on the west slope, you're back on the east slope.
So let's see, looking at that satellite
Okay.
image there, can we relate to what we're looking at? Vince will be the expert here.
This one is relative to another question, isn't it? Or is that relative to this one?
Yeah,
Right.
this is the only question relating to this view.
Right. So the Continental Divide starts there on the right of in the Mummy Range, and it comes down through. It's not on Trail Ridge Road, but it's the next ridge south of Trail Ridge, cuts through the park there, and then comes down through the Indian Peaks Range and into at the bottom of the Indian Peaks. It kind of goes through the James Peak area, and it goes through Eisenhower Tunnel, or over Eisenhower Tunnel. Eisenhower Tunnel goes under the Continental Divide. And then it goes down, it goes over to Hoosier, Fremont, Tennessee, and then comes down behind Massive to Independence Pass. And then probably about 5 or 6 miles south of Independence Pass, it cuts further west. And so all of those Collegiate Peak rivers between them are all draining from the divide west of the Collegiate Peaks. So it's kind of a fun thing because I made a lot of assumptions about it, and lots of them are wrong.
So I think we all learned a little bit from this. Okay, ready for another one? Although first we'll look at the standings. Hasn't changed any because everybody got it wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I might just before you do that, Pete, I might just add one thing, that the Continental Divide in Colorado is part of what's called the Great Divide. And the Great Divide separates the west flowing into the Pacific rivers from the east flowing into the Atlantic. However, in Canada, there are other continental divides. There's Continental Divide that goes through northern Canada that separates the Atlantic drainage from the Arctic drainage, not the Pacific. But you can go, there's one point in Jasper National Park where there is a triple point where the rivers flow to the Arctic, to the Pacific, and to the Atlantic. If you dropped a cup of water supposedly on that point, it would flow to all three different oceans.
Yeah. If you look at a satellite picture of that, you know, the Athabasca Glacier, which is a big accessible glacier in Jasper that you can drive right to the toe and walk on or whatever, have the snowmobiles and all that. But that one goes to Hudson Bay. Then that one goes to the Arctic. Then the one which is Saskatchewan Glacier goes to Hudson Bay. And then if you look on the thing, there's a Columbia Glacier that goes to the Pacific.
Did we lose everybody?
Well, we lost our operator. He'll be back, I'm sure.
Where'd it go?
Okay.
There you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I don't have, oh, here we go. Next question.
Oh, I hit the wrong button.
Oh, well, looks like only one person. And
That's the one I was supposed to hit.
oh, well, we'll give you
Yeah.
whatever you call it. Let's see here.
I'm not doing very good, huh?
It's like Alex surged into the lead.
Did
Yeah.
I wasn't watching. Did the picture display for that?
No.
Yes, there was a picture.
There was a picture.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see it.
So Alex got 2 correct. Here, let me, I guess I can't, I skipped over it, so I can't show you the, yeah, I didn't see the picture on my screen for some reason.
They'll see it again.
Okay, new question.
There's the
The
picture.
highest point within the Pikes Peak batholith.
Oh,
North Twin Cone Peak, South Tarryall Peak, Signal Butte, Pikes Peak. I'll see if I can hit the wrong button.
Did you hit any button, Beth?
No, I didn't get there in time.
Well, this is one that I added as an extra question to what Vince sent, and this was just kind of a red herring because the obvious answer is Pikes Peak, and that is the correct answer. So I wanted to see if anybody could psych themselves into choosing something else. So you all did well.
Well, except me.
Maybe Vince can tell us where that specific picture is from.
It's taken from the
Cathedral.
Phantom Ranch Road or the Phantom Canyon Road, coming up out of Pikes Peak and maybe halfway up the climb, coming out of Colorado Springs. But
okay. And now let's look at the standings.
Yay, Alex!
Alex is still up there. Beth, you haven't gotten a score yet. You
I know.
Using the wrong thing.
I know.
First, you got to learn what device to push the button on.
Yeah, that's my big problem. I have to think about where the button is and what color it is.
Right. Just concentrate on the color and use the right device. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Of course. Colorado Parade of Arches, second concert, the nearest city to the Parade of Arches. Oh, man.
Well, we had a bunch of spread out answers. And I have to admit, I had never heard of the Parade of Arches, and I had to Google this to find out what it was, although I kind of guessed it was near Grand Junction. And
I lose again.
Still got a perfect score, Beth. And Bob has switched into the lead.
Well, this is a horse race here.
Vince, you want to make some comments about the the Parade of Arches?
Well, since you just Googled it, it might be better for you to do it, but it's a series, I believe. What number did you see? About 35 different arches in the Rattlesnake Canyon area, which it's on BLM land. And there's a parking area that leads at the head of Rattlesnake Canyon. You can walk down this, what the BLM calls the Parade of Arches. And the Grand Junction folks are great at touting things. Like they tout that as the second largest concentration of natural arches in the world, which obviously is second to Arches National Monument. But they also tout the Grand Mesa as the highest flat top mountain in the world. So, and I've never found out whether that's true or not, but that one might be a little suspect. But I think the arches are probably correct.
Yeah, I looked this up. I actually printed out a page about it, and I was before I Googled it, I was thinking, well, it must be somewhere around Colorado National Monument. And I learned it's not in the monument. It's west of it. It's it's called the McInnes Canyons National Conservation Area. 35 arches, including 8 major arches. And says it's accessible by a rough drive on a 4x4 track or a 15-mile round trip hike.
Sounds like Bob's kind of place.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty cool. And arches are scattered along a mile of the canyon's rim. So that was a new one. Is that described in your book?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It is.
So closer to home, is anybody familiar with Harmonica Arch in the
Oh, yes.
Never Summers? Not Never Summers, in the Lost Creek.
Yeah.
We hiked there once.
That's what I remember, Beth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I led. Was it for this group or was it
Yes.
for the guild?
No, it was for this group.
Yeah, I led a hike there, and about half of the intrepid trekkers actually made it all the way to the arch.
And I was not one of them either.
But that's a cool place, and it's a little bit of a challenge to find a smooth route to get there.
Yeah.
There isn't a too smooth a route.
Well, there's one just outside of Boulder too, and they're redoing the trail, thank goodness, up to that one, the Royal Arch. And I've hiked up in there, and that's a Bob type hike too.
Not sure I'm sure I've never been there.
You've never been to Royal Arch?
Yes.
Not sure I knew about it.
Well, the trail is closed right now because they're redoing it. They're going to build steps up to the arch and everything. So we'll.
There are
put it
actually
on-
lots of arches in different kinds of rocks throughout Colorado. And one of them is up Turkey Creek Canyon called the Donut. It's in metamorphic rocks. And then there are quite a few in the Leadville limestone. One near No Name across the river from there, just upstream from Glenwood Springs.
Huh.
And then there's also one at the Gilman Colorado Eagle Mine, the turnout where you get the view of that. It's right below the road, and there are pictures from the 1890s of people in their finery getting their picture taken there.
We had a field trip there once, didn't we?
No, I didn't make it.
Yeah.
Might have been, but
Trying to remember who led that.
Well, okay, here we go for our next one. Beth, we want you to get some points on the board
Well,
this
I
time,
hope so
okay?
too.
Okay, here we go.
I'm looking pretty bad.
It's still about the arches.
I'm not going to get it right.
You got a 1 in 4 chance, and one of those almost can't be the answer.
And that's not what I chose.
And looks like we had one correctly chose Entrada Sandstone.
I did that. My ego is blazing, Pete, even though I also I got Gray's Peak because I thought,
Now this,
yeah.
I don't have my people screen on. Arlene, is that you?
Yeah, I'm speaking, but I'm not in the game because I didn't know how to get into Kahoot.
That was
you
easy.
you could try it and join now.
Where do I go?
Do you have your phone?
On your phone, just go to Safari and type in kahoot.it.
Oh,
or if you have Pete's email from a couple of days ago, it's easy to just touch that link.
Yeah, but just go to, what is it? Kahoot.id.
yeah.
IT.
Well,
Mhm.
there are ones. If I knew how to do the split screen, I don't want to go off your
Yeah.
videos. So I'll chirp And I'll congratulate myself when
Okay, well,
Great.
yeah, two correct is not bad.
I get.
And here, just a second, let me display the honor roll here. Alex back in the lead. And what I printed out says, the arch is formed in a 150-foot high layer of Entrada sandstone, like I said, scattered along a mile of the canyon's upper rim. The smooth salmon-colored sandstone was deposited more than 175 million years ago in the form of sand dunes on an ancient coastline. As the ancient sea disappeared, erosion started sculpting contoured alcoves in the cliff with wind-blown grit, frost wedging, and quick runoff, thinning out the alcoves until holes appeared. Trickling water later enlarged the holes, leaving today's magnificent parade of arches. Okay, Beth, I think the
know.
next one must be an easier one. Let's see.
Well, I doubt it.
Or
but-
just choose the answer you intended to choose is the key thing. Oh, yeah, Beth knows this cold, so no worries.
Oh,
Beth has even probably been there, which I have
No,
not.
I have not been there. I
Did you
got
get it
it
right?
right. Yay!
Hey, oh, Arlene, you're great. So in Lamar, and
Today, it's not quite its glorious self that it was there. But it's still there as that, and it's kind of fun to have that picture to compare to it. Today, it's a used car lot. It's the office for a used car lot.
but I have definitely got to get out there and see that place. So what formation would that wood have come out of? Because it,
Oh, some tertiary. I'm not quite sure
well,
what.
because the sign, and when I looked it up online, the sign claims 175 million years old.
Yeah,
No.
So maybe not, huh?
maybe not.
Because when you look it up, when I looked it up online, I forget where I looked it up, and so they made a point of saying, well, it's older than the fossil wood at Petrified Forest, but I don't think so.
Yeah, this is the. I'm almost positive that it's going to be out of the Cretaceous Tertiary,
Yeah.
near that boundary. So you find a lot of this wood, tremendous amounts in the Dawson Arcos down near the south, and I just can't imagine. I mean, it can't be 175,000.
Yeah, and I know I've read some very interesting stories about how that place was built and all. Well, okay.
Yeah, the tons, and actually the floor, I think, is also made out of
wood.
petrified logs also.
Okay, and gonna move on here. Oh, let's see. I didn't show our standings yet. There
I
is
got some
Beth.
points.
All right.
Looking
And-
good, Beth.
And
Trying
Bob's
to.
back leading. So Arlene, how many did you get right?
I think two since we began. But what I'm trying to remember is, I don't know if all of you know Ian Miller from the museum is leaving, and he's going to be in a post at the National Geographic. And in his goodbye, they showed him doing research in Africa. And when you're speaking about the waterways and everything, they're undoing where he's doing research. The ladder is a large tree with its branches cut off to be used as steps to carve in and find these fossils. I've seen so much, I'm trying to be understood. And so somebody
Wow.
said, what does that do to the ecosystem there? And there are and it's part of the Cretaceous out there, and they're finding all over but it's not the same like the Morrison Formation. I'm a lay person, really, at the bottom of the rung. And when I think about all of this, what is buried to be found is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really is. I hadn't heard that about Ian. I'm glad to know that.
Google it.
Yeah.
Google that. Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't heard either that he was leaving.
Yeah, so the headhunters found Kurt and they found Ian. Well, I think maybe they just applied for the positions, but they're plucking them from DMNS.
So you said the National Geographic Society he's going to work for?
Yes, Pete. Mm-hmm.
I think they're the one, Pete, that did the video on the new spot they found down
Right.
the Corral
Bluffs.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's probably how he got to know them.
Well, okay. So if Arlene, if you got at least 2 right, and if you answered in the middle of the time frame, you probably have in the neighborhood of 1,500 points, or a minimum of 1,000. So you technically should be in 3rd place at least.
Oh, I give it to Beth. I give it to Beth.
No.
Here we go.
Oh no.
Don't let Vince's big words throw you.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, 2 out of 3 got it right. Vince, would you like to make a few comments on this?
Well,
and keep in mind the next question, and don't give away the answer. Just for the record. If you can remember the next question.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll just basically say that the type of rock here is exactly like the type of rock that the Fountain Formation has. The only difference really is that this is white and the fountain is red. And they each came during different mountain building events. From the same.
You can say more after we do the next question.
Yeah, okay.
Has anyone here, everyone here climbed around on Pulpit Rock ever?
No.
No.
It's in Colorado Springs, by the way.
Yeah, you go by it as you go down the interstate coming into town, and you can't, it's easy to get off and drive to park in some parking lot and hike over to it.
And another interesting point about it is that in the Hayden survey of 1869, they called it Windsor Castle.
Who was Windsor?
England.
Oh, duh. Okay. Thank you.
I didn't think there was a Windsor family that early. I thought that was.
Well, but I think they were doing it in honor of the British Windsor Castle.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at the standings.
I'll be in 3rd place.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. And let's see. Now let's see. Here we have our follow-up question. And 2 got it right.
Oh.
So Vince, a little more commentary, if you like.
Just that this is a widespread unit and was derived. This is excuse me, this is what Douglas County gets its groundwater from. Of course, it's mostly buried in Douglas County, and so it contains groundwater as opposed to being up above ground here, where there obviously wouldn't be any groundwater in it. But the Dawson Formation was just this white unit that all of the streams and things came from the west as the Laramide Mountains rose and shed all the conglomerate and sandstone and siltstone out into the Denver Basin, just like the ancestral Rockies did for the Fountain Formation. But only they did it a couple of million years earlier.
And so just like the Fountain Formation, it's got feldspar grains in it, since it's a fairly close to its source sandstone, hasn't gone through a long history of long transport and weathering, so the feldspar hasn't decomposed. And I guess its feldspar here is all derived out of the Pikes Peak granite, right?
Right. And it has fragments of Pikes Peak granite also.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it white?
Well, that's always a good question. Ted Walker, a professor at the University of Colorado, was kind of known as Red Bed Ted, because he studied red in rocks. And Ted said something that I think is kind of meaningful, and that is that red comes and red goes. The red staining is hematite, but if that has to form in an oxidizing environment, but if you have the magnetic particles in a reducing environment, then it stays magnetite. It doesn't become hematite or actually rust. That's all hematite is in nature, is just the rust of magnetite. So it's not clear, because if you get reducing fluids, you could have a rock that had originally red hematite, but there are places in the fountain where you look at it and there's streaks of white through it. So that means that a reducing environment was in those areas, which could be from some organic material that creates a local reducing environment in the groundwater, and it would essentially leach the hematite out of it.
So it was there and then it was gone away.
Well, I suspect that it was never there here. But in the fountain, the red was there in places and has gone away from the leaching and where the white streaks are. And I once went on a field trip that was kind of a great debate between Bob Weimer and Ted Walker. And in the Morrison area, there was a great controversy because Ted Walker thought that what Weimer was calling lions was just white. I mean, was calling fountain, but it was white. And Walker said, no, that's just white fountain. It's not lions. It's not the same as the Lions Quarry. And it was one of the best field trips I've been on, because they each at each place could give their own arguments for each model, and then you could kind of draw your own conclusions or walk away confused, as the case may be.
And as I think about the Dawson Arcos here, I have been down to and I'm in Colorado Springs. There's a park, a city park, kind of on the north end of Colorado Springs, but south of here, whose name escapes me. But I've led a couple of field trips there showing some teachers petrified wood that you can see in it. And there's a lot of, in the gullies in the park, in the sand, you can see streaks of black material, and you can get a magnet and readily pick up a whole lot of magnetite grains. So that kind of shows that there's magnetite in these sediments that has not, as you're saying, Vince, has not gotten all oxidized where we'd be seeing the red colors.
When you're talking about the lions in Morrison, you mean right there along the highway? Just west of the town?
It's actually south. It's no, excuse me. It's just north of, it's just north of Morrison, the town of Morrison.
Yeah.
Yeah, those white ledges.
I always, Weimer always told me it was lions.
Right, he did. Awesome. And he said that on the trip. And Walker said, no, it's not. So
where did Walker put the lions then?
Oh, he said it wasn't there. It's all, the lions by definition is a dune type deposit. It's not a conglomerate. It's not a white conglomerate. So that's where the problem comes in. It's the right color as the lions, but it's not the right rock type as the lions. And formations are their rock units. That's what a formation is.
I have my hand up and I'll probably lose all my points. So I was
no.
I was thinking about the chalk cliffs. You folks are talking about hard rock. What is the white chalk cliffs?
I'm not going to tell you.
We're going to defer this till later on in the program. Okay.
Oh, okay. I wasn't looking at the test. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's look at the standings. Hey, Beth, you're getting up there.
Yeah, but Bob and Alex have to flunk.
Look, see what it says on the screen there? Yeah, Beth has a streak. Wow, Beth, way to go.
I'm learning how to press the buttons.
Okay. you know, the very first time I had done Kahoot before on my phone, but back in December, and this is how I got the inspiration that I should compose some of these, the CMS, Colorado Mineral Society, did a Kahoot game at their Christmas party virtually this December. And I think I started doing that, and for the first 2 or 3 questions, I couldn't make any response because I was trying to click stuff on the screen on my laptop and it didn't respond to anything. And I finally realized I had to do it on my phone. I was clicking on the boxes that weren't clickable, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Get ready. Hold on to your hats.
Our headphones.
Yeah.
Time span of the Great Unconformity at Colorado National
is greater than in the Grand Canyon. And what are these red overlying strata that, and there wasn't room to say overlying the dark colored Precambrian Proterozoic metamorphic rocks. So 2 got it right and guessed Triassic age. Here, let me go back to the.
Yeah.
So in the Grand Canyon, everyone, what's the age of the strata that overlie the Precambrian rocks there?
Paleozoic.
It's
Cambrian and on up.
Cambrian, right? First.
Right, the Cambrian sits right on above the Unconformity.
Yeah.
So there, the time gap is only
500 million.
Or is it 1,300 million?
It might be 1,300.
Are those
well, remember you've got those. It's not even the.
Yeah, what's it called?
Metamorphic rocks, you have the Proterozoic sedimentary rocks
Yeah.
below it also. But
Right.
anyway,
This is beginning to sound like my orals for my degree.
and you
And
pass
I had-
those. So
And
So
I had to
anyway.
look it up, and I see it's the Chinle Formation that
Yes,
is
at
these the
Colorado
red
National.
rocks that we're looking at here. Any more
And
comments?
so they're about 225 or 250 million years old, and the rocks below are about 1.8. And so there's a much larger time gap across that unconformity than what there is across the Great Unconformity, where you have 540 million year old rocks sitting on the Precambrian or Proterozoic. So we have a much greater Great Unconformity than the Grand Canyon does.
For my first orals, notice I said first because I had flunked the first ones. They wanted me to completely recite the stratigraphy of the Grand Canyon by feet and time period.
Oh,
Good,
my.
great.
Goodness.
The second round, I learned it, but then they didn't ask it.
No, of course they don't.
Yes.
And orals are strange things. I know somebody who went into his orals and they said, Mr. Brown, you're a candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Tell us what you know about philosophy. That would have done me in right there. It did him in too.
So
I'm getting there.
Bob is pretty close to Alex, and Beth is
I'm catching
coming up
up.
there.
Yeah.
Alex must just not be pushing the buttons, that's all.
Not quick enough.
Okay, here we go.
Red strata at Red Rocks records. Whoa, wait a minute. What two organic events?
Orogenic.
Mountain building events.
Mountain building events. Red Rocks, ancestral Rockies and post-Laramide, ancestral Rockies and Laramide. Oh, let's go with that one. What the heck?
Hey, how about you, Arlene?
Oh, I'm mute. I'm learning. I hope I retain what I'm learning.
Okay. Okay, and looks like everyone who's playing got that right.
And so just to mention there, Pete, the red rocks themselves, those conglomerates and siltstones and sandstones, record the ancestral Rockies. And they were deposited essentially horizontal during the erosion of the ancestral Rockies. And the tilting of those occurred then during the Laramide, which records that mountain building event.
And let's look at still in the same positions.
Yeah.
Beth with her answer streak of 5.
Wow.
That's roaring right up on us.
You'll have to just not press the button for me to catch up.
Okay, here we go. Let's see, question number 13 coming up, I guess.
Here we go. Chalk cliffs.
Back to the chalk cliffs.
Yeah.
What are they made of?
Must be no.
Oh, we all got it right. That's good.
Okay. Looks like white like chalk, but ain't anything, and fairly soft like chalk, I guess, or maybe not as soft, but
it's pretty soft.
Yeah.
Because I know whenever there's heavy gully washer rains, there's on that Chalk Creek Road there's always lots of debris washing across, eroding off them and washing across the roads.
Right. So if you look there, you can see the really white cliffs, and if you follow those from left to right, then you change into a dark gray color. That dark gray color is actually a fault surface of the Sawatch, the Southern Sawatch Fault. And so that fault extends downward for thousands of feet, and hot water is coming up along that fault from depth. That gives you the Mount Princeton hot springs. And that hot water worked on the granite that forms most of the mountain there and altered it to this whitish, hydrothermally altered material. Probably the feldspars were altered to kaolinite, and it's a very unstable rock, as Pete pointed out. Lots of debris flows come out of that, or mudslides come out of that during heavy rains. And that fault right there is in the National Earthquake Hazard Map as being capable of generating a magnitude 7 earthquake.
Wow.
So is that the actual fault surface we're looking at? It looks like there's the
gray triangular looks like a flat iron. That is about as close as you can get to the fault surface. It's striated and polished in some places.
So it's dipping down to the west, or
East.
No, it's dipping down to the east. It's a normal fault.
It's a normal, yeah.
And
Where's Ned?
Well, you see we don't need Ned. You see the large triangle, and if you go to the right side of that, there's a little gully.
Yep.
And then there's a starting of a little bit, and then it disappears in the trees. That's the trace of the fault there.
okay.
And so that big flat iron is the actual fault scarp. And another interesting point too, one of the reasons that it's in the National Earthquake Hazard Map is because the Bull Lake moraine that's on south of Chalk Creek, you can see you look across all the brown grassy material, and then you see the long stripe of green that's cutting across about 2/3 of the image from left to right. Those are moraines, and they're Pinedale. And from this view, you can't separate the Pinedale from the Bull Lake. The Bull Lake is the older age moraine. That moraine has 120-foot high escarpment in it. It's been offset 120 feet since it was deposited. And that doesn't occur in one earthquake. That occurs in multiple earthquakes. These type of faults, you'll get from 6 to maybe 20 feet maximum on this type of fault. So there were multiple faults that have occurred since that time, since the deposition of that.
Okay, great. And I think maybe Alex has widened his lead a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he answered quicker.
How come they all got them right and they're not getting?
Well, everybody added points to their previous score. Oh, why? I've in playing with this program, for some reason it doesn't say how long a streak everyone has had. I think it's doing it to
just the losers,
the third place person, to give them encouragement. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So be encouraged.
On my phone, I have my streak as being 4.
Oh.
So Beth must have the longest streak right now.
Okay. Well, cool, Beth.
See,
okay,
it just took me a while to get started.
Yeah. Okay. If they wanted to give you more of a chance, the other two could, on some of the next questions, they could not answer right away. They could wait until the last second or two, and they'd still get it right. They'd give you a chance to catch up.
He wants to win honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
hold your breath, Mary Beth.
Beth, you haven't taken any shots of brain enhancing, mind improving chemicals, have you?
No, I have not. I haven't
'Cause
even
they'll-
had, I've had only 1 cup of tea and 1 cup of
Okay.
Pepsi today.
Because there will be a blood test at the end of the.
Okay, that's what I said. It's like my orals.
Here we go.
Blue Mesa Reservoir.
A spectacular exposure, which I bet you've all seen. And yes, 2 correctly said it's a volcanic breccia. Is it called the West Elk breccia?
Where's our
Vince?
expert?
He's being silent.
He stepped out.
Okay. I'm not looking at the screen, but have you all seen that?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And there's wonderful exposures of that as you come in close to the town of Gunnison, right along the road, and it's all chunks of different kinds of volcanic rock jumbled in there.
I think we were glad we didn't live here then.
Yeah, probably. And
Especially the big ash flow tuffs, basically on the side of the river where the picture's taken from.
yeah. In fact, I don't know, are there some ash flow tuffs on the top of that hill that we're looking at? I'm not sure.
I think you're right, Pete. That columnar jointing up there at the very top, I believe, is some ash flow tuffs. But basically, most of that is the West Elk breccia. You probably already,
Yeah.
which is there. If you follow it back up to the north, I think it's for 15 miles that stuff goes up there. If my memory's correct. You'll come to an area where the center of the volcano was located, that these things came out on the flanks of. And there's not much left of the volcano now. They're just some radial dikes that show that there was a cascade type volcano there at one time. And one of the professors at Western University superimposed Mount Shasta's image on the whole thing to kind of give a view of what this would have been like, and it's pretty impressive.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Beth is really close. Bob, did you get that one wrong?
Oh, Bob.
Giving Beth a chance here to catch up.
Look at that, boy. We do have a horse race.
Okay, here comes number 15.
The type of unconformity displayed in
Whoa.
Oh, I see. We equally, thanks to hitting the wrong button, equally distributed among the 3 choices. And, I always stumble over remembering this one. It's kind of like a memorization thing. And
so nonconformity is where sedimentary rocks are deposited on top of igneous and metamorphic rocks, which obviously indicate a tremendously long period of time, because igneous and metamorphic rocks are formed deep underground at high temperatures and pressures. And then you have to erode, and they're maybe 10 miles deep. You've got to erode all that material off of it and get the stuff to the surface, and then deposit the sedimentary materials on top of it, which in this case is Cambrian on Proterozoic metamorphic rocks laced with pegmatites. And this is in Glenwood Canyon, obviously, since the question was asking that.
Now does the definition require that they be intrusive igneous rocks?
No, igneous. Oh, good.
In other words, what if it was just a lava flow underneath the sediments?
Right.
So I'm not
That's
sure.
a good question. I really don't know the answer to that. And of course, one of the problems with all of our names in geology is that nature didn't know that we were going to create these pigeonholes. She doesn't always cooperate.
That's where the philosophy comes in. There's
Yes.
lumpers and there's splitters.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. Because I know I know there's also a para-unconformity is defined, right?
Right. And I frankly don't remember them.
I think it's a sedimentary sequence where there's no obvious erosion of the lower strata, that there's a time break, but hadn't been any erosion of the old erosion surface, so that you can't tell that there's an unconformity there. You can only tell it by dating the rock layers. Am I?
That's supposedly the disconformity. And I'm not sure what a para. And unfortunately, my monitor is sitting on my glossary of geology.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was thinking that
You're not thinking about parageosyncline, are you?
No.
There's that.
In a disconformity, there's no angular, there's not been any tilting, but the top layer of the older package of rocks shows some evidence of erosion, like scouring into the beds or something. So you can see there's an erosion surface that's not identical to a bedding surface, that it's been eroded, and then a paraconformity, where there's no evidence of erosion at all.
Well, I'm looking at paraconformity on the, I've Googled it, and it says exactly what you just said. But then right below that is what are three types of unconformities, and you get disconformities, nonconformities, and angular unconformities.
And I bet some geologists have defined a few more types of unconformities too.
Right. And
stringing more words onto it.
Yeah. And you also get misuse of terms a lot of times, so that eventually some terms that had very good definitions no longer mean virtually anything now.
Okay, well, let's look at the the horse race here.
Wow. Look at old Bob. Alex, he's way out in front.
So
have
Pete,
scores.
I think I just
Yeah.
Pete, I've just seen, I think, where perhaps the answer is, that there's the general term unconformity, and then there are these three types of unconformities below that, where you sort of break it down.
Right.
So a nonconformity is one type of unconformity. It looks like, from what I'm seeing on the internet, that paraconformity is a type of disconformity. So the disconformity there's no difference in the inclination of the strata on either side, but the paraconformity is where there's no erosion evidence. And so I guess it's just a further breaking down from what I can see here.
Okay, very good. Well, we don't want to go beating a dead horse here, I guess, since we're doing horse races. So I'll move on to number 16.
Oh,
Okay, all three. Arlene, how did you do?
no, I hit granite.
Oh my.
That's what the
when you look
Capitol
at-
in Denver is made out of.
Okay.
When you look at white rock from a distance, you can't really tell. You have to know this, right? And
Mm.
that's a lot of Yule marble there.
It sure is. There's a whole USGS professional paper on the marble there, and it's weathering. It has weathered severely in the acid rain of Washington, D.C. But it's a really informative professional paper also, because it goes through all the history of it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the nice things you can see in this picture is if you look at the column on the far right that's in the sunlight, you can see that these columns are made up of stacked cylinders.
Yeah.
Right. Oh.
I'm looking at the geological terms dictionary, paraconformity, unconformity at which strata are parallel, and the contact is a simple bedding plane. Right from the book.
No evidence of erosion. Right.
No.
Of course, now, Beth, you know that there are 7 editions the last time I looked since that thing that you're looking in. And it's about 4 times as large as that in terms of thickness and aerial extent.
This is what I took my orals from.
That's what I took mine from too. But guess what?
You want to know what edition it is?
Time has passed.
1962. 1962.
Okay.
Almost as old as me.
Oh, and I just ducked out to get a book out of the other room here. In addition to the USGS report that Vince was talking about, there was a booklet that we published. I don't have my pictures view. Can you see this if I hold it up?
Yes, we can. Right.
This is one of these many brochures that I used to get boxes of, and we distributed them out for free when I did booths at the mineral shows and all. So this one is Building Stones of Our Nation's Capital. And it's a summary of all the different, well, most of the different buildings in Washington, D.C., talking about what stones each one is made of. And this, again, if you want to go back in time about 10 years to when Pete was at a booth for the USGS and we still had all these publications to give away, use your time machine, go back and get one. And for example, I'm looking at the one that's a diagram of the Washington Monument, and how about the lower third of it is made of Texas marble. And then there's one short course of Lee marble, which I don't know offhand where it's from. And then the upper 2/3 is Cockeysville marble.
There's also Yule marble in it.
In the
Because
Washington?
didn't they use some stones from every state somewhere in the
Yes,
Washington?
there are plaques inside apparently, which will say a state's name, and the plaque which says Colorado is made out of Yule marble.
Wow.
Well, anyway, so that's a cool book if you ever picked up a copy of it. It's online digitally. Okay, let's see how we did. Of course, you all got it right.
Wow. That's a lot of points, Alex.
Yeah.
You see, I don't see anybody else's points except my own on my phone.
It's on your computer.
Yeah,
Not on mine. Looks like it should be, but it's not.
Huh.
oh, where aren't you seeing the,
All I see is my name is highlighted, and then Bob and Beth are below that, but no points.
well, that's funny.
Well, the points are for you 81.97, for Bob 73.26, and Beth 62.32.
Okay.
Alex, it must be something about your screen display that's cutting off the right hand.
Well, maybe it's out there underneath the display of all the people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like,
Yeah.
everybody out of the way, I can see them.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Next question.
Ooh.
Only got 2 answers, and none of them were right.
Except I hit, oh, my time went up. It's the Beulah marble.
Yes, well, we'll give you honorable mention for knowing the right answer, even if your fingers were too slow. And
I'd like to get down into those quarries, and I don't know if Vince knows how to get into there or not. But
well, it's through the gentleman who gave the talk to the Scientific Society about, what, 2 years ago?
I must have been.
Yeah, I think.
In fact, we should talk to him about doing a field trip to there sometime.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of interesting stories about the stones in the Colorado Capitol. They're all supposed to have been native stones. And the Beulah marble there, it's interesting, the floors and the grand staircase were supposed to have been made out of Yule marble, and this wainscoting was supposed to have been made out of Beulah marble. You can see the white on the floor, but that's not Yule marble because, I'll get to that in a minute. The Beulah marble was from this quarry down near Beulah, Colorado, which is south of Colorado Springs. And they quarried it all out and they ran out. They didn't have enough to do it. So if you look at the little thin strip through that, below that glistening gold area down there, you come down below that glistening gold area on the right, and then you'll see the light glistening off of Beulah marble. And then there's a sort of brownish strip. That's not Beulah marble. That's the substitute that they got when they ran out of the Beulah marble at the quarries. And it's from Italy. It's called Red Verona. And you can still buy it today from Denver Marble Company for your countertop if you want, or it wouldn't be a good choice for a countertop, but you can still get it. And the other thing is that the floors were supposed to be Yule marble. And when it was put before the legislature to make that the state rock, Yule marble, I went in and testified about its purity and how it was chosen for the Lincoln Memorial, and it was chosen for the Tomb of the Unknowns because of its exceptional purity, this pure white. Except you can see that that floor doesn't look all that pure white. And that's because they couldn't get the quarry going. There really wasn't a railroad in there when the quarry was opened up. So getting a large piece like for the grand staircase was very, very difficult. Those stairs for the grand staircase are very, very large. And the architect came to the committee in charge of building the Capitol and said, we've got to go ahead and get something else for the grand staircase. We cannot wait any longer for Yule Marble because we've got to get that finished in order to continue the building on schedule. And he said, I'll give you a choice of 2 marbles for that, the Carrara or Tennessee marble. Tennessee marble's a kind of brownish limestone. And in the stone industry, there are 2 types of rock for decorative stone. There's granite and there's marble. And most granite these days is not granite. It's some, but the difference is whether it's soft or hard. If it's harder than glass, then it gets categorized as granite, no matter what color or if it's a basalt or whatever. And if it's softer than glass, it gets classified as marble, even if it's a limestone. And in this case, the Beulah marble is a limestone. It's just a brecciated Leadville limestone that's got all these breccia fragments and then the nice hematite giving the red streaking in between it. So the white Yule marble and the Beulah marble are both from the Leadville limestone, strikingly. So the committee chose the Carrara marble, which is white, from Italy, and it's what Michelangelo used for all of his sculptures out of marble. But they didn't tell anybody. They kept it a secret. And moreover, they started trying to put the floors down, and because they didn't have the stuff from the Yule marble yet, the Denver Post uncovered this scandal, and they had this big article that said that they are bringing this stuff in from the Northeast where the cheap labor, cheaper than Colorado labor, is cutting it from the New Hampshire quarries and Vermont quarries. And they're bringing it in on the train on the weekends and unloading it at night so nobody will know. So they had this big expose of all of this stuff. And so there's a lot of other stuff in the Capitol that is not native Colorado rocks. And that's kind of an interesting story all in itself. So much for the Beulah marble.
Arthur Lakes described the Beulah marble quarries. I just want to say that.
Great. He probably told them where to go to get it.
You know, I have, of course, my copy of that wonderful book about Arthur Lakes with the CD with his complete works on it,
Yeah.
but I can't say that I've read every of those. Is there about 1,000 papers, or how many are there?
At least 1,000. Why haven't
Yeah.
you read them?
Same reason
When
you
I'm
haven't read
retired,
Messages
I'll
in
have
Stone.
time to read them.
I thought maybe you were going to tell me you had lost your CD.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Heaven forbid.
Okay, and let's see. Let's look at the standings. Well,
Didn't
okay.
change.
Alex, you're still not seeing those numbers?
Yeah, I just have to move the view of each of you.
Okay.
That's okay.
Got it.
Column
Got
of
it.
people on there are in the way. So
Yeah.
Okay.
And Arlene, how about you? Did you guess Beulah marble on this?
No, when I said granite, hey, save me some time so I won't have to Google it. What is the difference in the strength of granite and marble?
Well, it's mainly the hardness. Granite is harder than glass, and glass does not scratch it. And marble is softer than glass. And therefore, that's why my mother, and probably yours too, told you not to put your glasses on the marble top table, your glass of water, because it would scratch it, take the
Thank
polish
you.
off.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, as a surprise, wait till you see the next question.
Oh.
You told us the answer to that.
Oh, he didn't warn me not to. I didn't know.
Well, you forgot,
that one was
Vince.
coming. I forgot that
Sorry.
one was coming.
Hey, we've only got 2 answers so far. 1 second.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Who didn't click for an answer? So, as Vince was saying, it's the Leadville limestone, and which is amazing because the Leadville limestone is just this darkish gray, fine grain, kind of ugly looking rock. Would you say mostly?
Yes,
Right. Ugly.
ugly.
And I thought I'd put some good choices up there that sometimes can have red colors in them that might confuse people.
Yep.
And yeah, that is cool stuff.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Mhm.
And I think some of you recall that about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, Jane and I did got permission and did a visit to the Beulah Quarry. And that was, we got permission through the previous owner who had more recently sold it to the geologist who owns it now. But we did get to climb around in the quarry pits and
Wow.
bring back some samples of the Beulah marble. So that was one of the things on my bucket list that I was so pleased that I was able to do, and pleased that Jane was able to do it with me, because she, after showing the Beulah marble in the Capitol to groups of teachers when we would do our building stones tour for many years, it was neat to go there in person.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, I'm catching up.
Oh, you are, Beth, you just have to, if you answer real quick, you have a chance of catching up, you know?
You have
And
to hit the right button.
we have 2 more questions coming up, so get ready. This is a 16th Street Mall question. And that's Jane, and her hand is sort of on the contact between the 2 different rock layers there.
I don't know if I hit the right button. It's going around and around.
And we got 2
I got
correct
it.
answers for Wall Mountain Tuff. And, you know, I guess if that rock, I don't think the Table Mountain lava has actually been used in any buildings as such, but it would be a much darker gray if it were. And of course, the building stone trade name commonly used for what we geologists call the Wall Mountain Tuff is simply Castle Rock rhyolite.
Oh.
And the blocks were typically left rough hewn, like you see here. And you look at them close up and you can see the little tiny, I guess you can see biotite and feldspar crystals in it. In fact, in a moment, you're going to see a closer up view of this. And let's look at our standings now.
Oh,
Ooh,
my,
I'm
look at
almost
that.
up to Bob.
God,
Ooh.
4 points.
Photo
Come
finish.
on, Bob.
There might have to be a recount.
Yeah.
Boy, this is it. This is right down to the wire.
Yeah,
Photo-
and you're both
photo
right
finish.
up to Alex too.
Yeah.
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 Photo
So
finish.
Alex, your finger slipped and you didn't get to answer that time?
I didn't have a clue. Didn't have
Ah.
Hope-
Oh, that's right. You answered and you guessed the Shoshanite.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the last one. So 2 out of 3 correctly guessed Pikes Peak granite. And
Matter whose finger was fastest.
and once again, that's Jane's hand there, and you can kind of see the scattered dark minerals, biotite mostly in there, and shows you a little bit more of a close-up of the texture of the rhyolite.
The same combination was used on the St. Elizabeth Church on the Auraria campus, which was built about the same time as this building. So that was the fad.
Ah.
And the problem is on the campus building that the bottoms of the Pikes Peak granite columns are eroding because of snow setting in that along that groove. That's eroding away, and they've had to fake it. And it's
They've
a
had to
mess.
fake it.
They had to fake like filled it in with stuff, and it doesn't look right.
Oh, you can still see some of the granite, I take it.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
whole column is granite, but the bottom of the column is
got it.
eroding away. Something I always pointed out to my students.
I'll have to go on campus next time I'm down there and look at that. And let's see what the
Alex will be the winner. Alex will be the winner. See, I told you.
And Beth moved into number 2.
I beat Bob. Oh my gosh.
Bob, I guess, got that one wrong. And you're not far behind, only about 1 length behind Alex there. So
just a point about the silver plume granite. The only place you really see that is up in Georgetown. Very few buildings outside of Clear Creek County were built of silver plume. It was a lovely granite, and it's too bad, but they didn't sell it down here.
Yeah.
The Hamill House is built of it, and some of the buildings in the town used as trim a lot.
Well, okay.
So what does Alex win? Does he win a copy of Messages in Stone? Or the new book?
Well,
I'm sure he probably has one already. That's probably why he won.
Yeah.
And he probably read it, Beth.
I think that
I had a lightning strike and got bombed out for about 10 seconds, but I'm back now.
Oh.
we want you to win a book. What book do you want to win?
Oh, do you have a choice, or do I?
I don't know. Ask Vince.
This is your show, Beth. We're just the
No,
workers.
it's yours. It's your books, though.
Well,
Or I could give Alex a CD-ROM about Arthur Lakes.
There you go.
I would go for that. I've read the book cover to
would be
cover,
good.
but it sounds like there's a lot more in the CD, and I don't have that.
Well, the movie is the movie we made. And Vince, are you in there? Pete's in it. Jane's in it. I'm in it.
yeah, you mean the video, the movie?
Yeah, the movie. Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
what?
I should give that out when our field trip next month. I hope people join in. We'll be in Florissant, but I'll bring a bunch of CD-ROMs and give them out because I've only got 12 or 1,500 of them.
Okay, I was going to say save one for me because I won't be there next month. But if you have 1,500, I guess you can tuck one in a corner somewhere.
Somewhere I've got them tucked away, but Dinosaur Ridge people didn't dispose of them in an adequate manner.
So now, Alex, where do you live that you were having lightning?
That's what I wanted to ask, or was it a mental lightning strike?
No, I saw it. It's Woodland Park, and I've had a storm sitting outside the window here during this whole thing, and then I just saw the flash, and the screen went blank.
Mm. Well, I'm very happy to audit this program. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
Well, I think we had a good time picking out stuff for it.
I wish that more people had participated. But
Yeah,
you can lead them to it, but you can't make them do it.
right. Well, so it goes.